First, we play volleyball. The Spartans say farewell to their toughest Pioneer League competition, with the playoffs looming large. Next, since we're on the subject of tough competition, the Knights teach us how facing the toughest around can become a measuring stick in a growing program. And finally, we can't get to mid-May without getting the last word on some playoff hopefuls, league title contenders, and end-of-the-season excitement. That's all right here, right now, on the Sports Desk. Hey Torrance, welcome to another week on the Sports Desk. I'm your host, Wan Hernandez. First up this week, we head to the South Spartans as they've wrapped up the regular season on the volleyball court. Always a CIF playoff threat come turning time, and usually, but not always, sitting at the top of the Pioneer League come mid-May. And when we talk about the regular season, it can't get more exciting than two teams going at it with first place on the line on senior night. For that story, Valerie Ortega joins us.
South has become a school known for having a competitive boys volleyball team who is always fighting for the top spot in league, and this season it was no different.
They've done a fantastic job of sticking together, sticking with the game, and helping the program stay competitive. So it's been good.
When South played El Segundo in the last game of the season, there's an intensity between these two teams that can only be between two rivals.
It's honestly a lot more emotional game. It's a lot of talking between the net, and it's just like it's a lot more physical game than usually.
You gear for it so much more. You know what it's about. You know that this is about league. Us and El Segundo have had a pretty good rivalry over the years.
Even though the Spartans came in second in the Pioneer League, they still had an impressive 20-6 overall record for the regular season.
Definitely been a good year. I liked. We all grew a lot, bonded really well with each other. And yeah, our record does look good.
Our record is very good, and we've worked hard, and we've given ourselves an opportunity to maybe make a deep run.
I'm honestly very proud of my team, just because we've worked through a lot of losses in our team, a lot of sickness. It's been a pretty hard year, but we pulled out with a pretty good record.
From South, this is Valerie Ortega reporting for the Sports Desk.
Thanks for that, Valerie. So with the regular season wrapping up, that means CIF playoff pairings have been made. Let's take a quick look at the postseason picture. The Spartans ended up with that second Pioneer League seed after the loss to El Segundo, earning them at least an opening round home game taking place early this week. They were a lock for the postseason anyway, at least from the outsider's perspective. The real news was Torrance having to fight their way into the Division II tourney. Last week, the Tartars were handed a wild card matchup against Nordhoff. The boys win convincingly in 3 sets, so now they are set as our first potential Cinderella in spring playoffs, looking to start it with an upset of Lakewood this week. Meanwhile, the Bishop boys are set on their playoff journey. After sharing the Del Rey League's top spot in the standings, they draw the low card in playoff seeding. The Knights, slotted as the league's number 2 seed, will have a slightly tougher path to the championship. Things starting off at home against the Academy League's Whitney. All right, everybody, that wraps up our volleyball playoff picture, but there's still some regular season shenanigans to talk about in other sports. When we come back, the Knights softball squad faces a team that's got the best of them this season, but it doesn't mean Bishop softball isn't on the rise when they play the top dogs.
Now, another adventure with Savings Man.
Oh dear, I can't afford that.
Charge it. You can pay it off later.
Not so fast, credit card guy.
Savings Man.
Don't let him entice you, ma'am. Credit card guy can lead you to big trouble. You need a savings plan.
You're right, Savings Man.
Get this ballpark estimate worksheet at choosetosave.org. It will help you get started.
Gee, thanks, Savings Man.
No, thank you.
So visit choosetosave.org and get your ballpark estimate today.
Winston, just one more inning, Grandma.
Ever notice how many things today kids can do without actually moving? A whole lot of things their parents used to do the hard way. So many kids' activities today seem to leave out the activity part. which makes exercise even more important for children. In fact, new research tells us the best time to enhance bone development is during childhood and adolescence. And just getting children to walk an extra 35 minutes a day could spare them the pain of thinning bones later in life. Healthy bones come from healthy habits. Encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving.
Hello. Hey, Grandma, how about another grape soda?
A public service message on building strong bones for kids from the Pediatric Orthopedic Society of North America and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Hi, welcome back to the Sports Desk. In our last segment, we analyzed a matchup, a close race between two rivals with a lot on the line. Next up, we analyze a different kind of rivalry, much like the rivalry between a hammer and a nail. Sometimes one team just flat out has the other's number. The Yankees finished the regular season with a better record than the Red Sox 66 times and became the benchmark of excellence in Major League Baseball by beating up on their kid brothers from Boston between 1920 and 2003. It became the Sox measuring stick for success, chasing the pinstripes until their first World Series win in over 80 years. Now, Yankee Sox is less about Boston being beat on and more about which empire is the most evil in baseball. Point is, the tides can and do turn. And while we promise the Bishop Montgomery Knights will never become softball's evil empire, Colin Kushner gives us a look at how chasing their own Yankee dynasty just might make them a better softball program.
Lady Knights softball has had their share of struggles against Bishop Mont this season.
It was really tough. Bishop Mont has always been like our #1 competitor. We don't have the ability that we wish we did. We have a bunch of freshmen and they just started playing, some of them. So we've really been teaching them, and I think we've improved a lot actually.
The Lancers cruised to a 17-0 victory, outscoring the Knights 36-3 in 3 games this season.
You know, Bishop Mont, probably one of the better teams in our league, some would consider the best, and it's pretty difficult trying to go out there, especially with Samantha Eubanks being hurt today. And I'm not a normal pitcher, I'm actually more of a first baseman, and I've been playing second this whole season. So we just kind of wanted to go out there, have fun, try our best, and give it all we have.
Coach Legaspi explains one of the main reasons why the Lancers have dominated the Knights over the years.
Well, they're a big program, the school they come from. We come from a program that has a total of 20 girls that came out this year. They have 75, 80 girls that go out for their program. So there's a big difference in the selection that we get and they get.
The last time the Knights beat the Lancers dates all the way back to the 2008-2009 season. Since that win, they have lost 16 straight versus their Delray League rivals, but look to stay optimistic for next season.
I think next season, hopefully we'll get some more recruits coming in next year for freshmen. I think we're getting a new pitcher, hopefully. And I believe we're actually moving down a division next year, so we're hoping to be able to compete and hopefully make playoffs next year.
Well, we gotta pick up our game. We need to get those recruits in. We're hoping to get a pitcher in, thank goodness. And we really gotta have more effort and more positive energy.
With this season almost in the books, Coach Legaspi and company look to add new talent and keep working hard. From Bishop Montgomery High School, this is Colin Kushner reporting for the Sports Desk.
Thanks, Colin. The Knights will take that enthusiasm and optimism into the final week of the season with 2 home games and a chance to add another league win to their record as you see them building for big things in the 2015 season. In the rest of Torrance's softball world, the Pioneer League gave us a little mix-up to make our final week of the season just a tad interesting. First up, Torrance handed El Segundo their first loss in league, helping out themselves and their biggest rivals North, all in 6 innings of ball. The Tartars topped the Eagles in a 1-run game, then stomped Centennial to close out the week. The big week for the Tartars has them in position for a Pioneer League crown now. As for the other 2 Pioneer League teams in Torrance, North got to enjoy a full 2 days tied for first place, thumping Centennial as Torrance beat Gundo. Then the South Spartans stepped into the picture. Tied at 2, Kelsey Bozart belted a 3-run game-winning bomb off of Sydney Overly that shook up all kinds of rankings and standings. 3 games to watch out for now. Even with 1 week left, we are still miles away from knowing who the heck is going to win the Pioneer League. North entered their game against South, ranked 7th in CIF's Division III. They also drop into a tie for 2nd with the Tartars. South moved up to a .500 record with 2 wins and 4th place in the league now. meaning not only do we have a three-team race for first, but the Spartans worked their way into a possible at-large bid after that huge upset. So, now we've got plenty to lose sleep over before the dust settles, but that's going to bring us to our final segment. When we come back, we'll take a trip through the madness that is spring here in Torrance. The Pioneer League softball standings are the only board with some movement on them entering the last week of the regular season.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to homes. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
My new mom and I have a lot in common.
The great outside.
We both love the outdoors.
So shiny.
That's not a flower. We both love geology.
Oh, look. An igneous one.
That's not a rock. And she knows a lot about wildlife.
A labradoodle.
That's not a dog. Hanging out has been kind of fun.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Hi, welcome back once more to the Sports Desk. Today we've been wrapping up regular season antics across town and diving into the playoff scene right here in the southern section. Of course, you know we're not going to leave out what we said all along would be the tightest race of them all. Before we get into the latest news and scores on the baseball diamond, while I'm not usually one to say I told you so, for now, let's just say I told you so.
Spring has long since sprung, and with Memorial Day knocking on our door, graduation looming, and the promise of another sunny summer in the South Bay, in the prep world, it all adds up to one thing. The playoffs are near. The final week of regular season competition before the Warriors bid farewell to the Bay League, a baseball team within striking distance of the school's final chance at a Bay League banner, part of a three-team mix-up separated by just 2 games and first place before they replace the team in that other league mix-up. Here, same story. 2 towns, 3 schools, 1 title. A year ago, none of that meant a thing, and somehow, someway, 2014 turned out to be no different. Pioneer League Baseball, the clown car of the southern section. You see, it all started when Torrance beat South, only to see South beat Torrance 2 days later. Then, things got crazy when Torrance swept El Segundo after El Segundo swept North. South also swept North, but has yet to play El Segundo, while North gets to close their season out with the 2-game set against Torrance. No longer in the hunt for first place, but plenty eager to play the spoiler in this chapter. You still with me? Me neither. Doesn't matter. The only thing that does matter is we told you so. A full year has gone by since the Pioneer League baseball season ended with 4 teams fighting for first place in the final week, only to be followed up this year by dwindling that race down to 3 teams entering the final week. All this, and don't forget, we only have 1 summer to go before we welcome West High into that clown car.
All right, so you ready to see all those pieces of the puzzle fit together? Here's what we've got in the final week of regular season games. Sitting in pretty much the same shoes we were in last year, just like the girls of the Pioneer League this season, things are a little wild. First up, South swept Centennial in their 2-game series. Outside of league play, the Spartans had a rough week, losing their other 2 games in shutouts. They're getting primed for the playoffs with plenty of non-league action, but this week, it's a matchup with El Segundo that will determine their fate. Tied with Torrance in first place, they are in a must-win situation all week. In fact, everybody's in a must-win situation. Meanwhile, those Torrance Tartars record their 20th win of the 2014 season. A perfect 3-0 in their week almost included a perfect game. Jacob Gerwell threw a no-hitter and was a walk away from the even more rare perfect game. Back-to-back wins over Lawndale have them staring at just that sole loss to South, their only blemish on the league season. Of course, they got to get through the spoilers North in order to hold tight in that first place spot. So this is what we've got with 1 week to go. I can offer you one guarantee. No three-way tie this year. If South sweeps Gundo and Torrance sweeps North, co-champs. If South loses one game to El Segundo with the Torrance sweep of North, Tartars are your Pioneer League champs. Or if Torrance loses a game with the South sweep, the Spartans get the banner all to themselves. There's multiple possibilities, but one of them will not repeat itself this year. At most, we will have 2 teams in first place. Of course, remember, that's all before the West Warriors jump in to play this next year. This year, though, they've still got some work to do. Angel Mora brought a little excitement to the Warriors with a walk-off single in the 10th to complete the 2-game sweep over Palos Verdes. The sweep knocked PV out of the Bay League race and kept the Warriors within a game of Peninsula. West, the only squad to beat Penn this season, but with the sweep over last place Loosinger and a little help from their rivals down the street, Redondo, West has a legit chance at sharing or even squeaking out a Bay League championship. So that wraps up our baseball scene here in Torrance for the final week of the regular season. Next time you see us, it'll be playoff time, and we'll have some updates on the boys' volleyball playoffs taking place this week. In the meantime, you always know how to get in touch with us here at the Sports Desk. We're just an email or a Facebook message away from giving you the lowdown on what we have planned for the show and what we have planned for the summer, which, as you know by now, is when we gear up for this year's Surfing for a Cure relay taking place at Torrance Beach on June 22nd. The Sports Desk needs just 3 more surfers to jump on our team and help us raise some money to donate to the Children's Hospital of LA for pediatric cancer research. So send us an email to find out how you can get involved for visiting Surfing for a Cure's Facebook page. Also, the Sports Desk and Surfing for a Cure now have a live donation page online, so even if you don't want to surf with us, you can still help raise money by visiting the link on GoFundMe. It's gofundme.com/SportsDeskSurfTeam. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up another week here on the Sports Desk. Always a good time hanging out with you. We'll see you next time. Guys, I'm going